ridiculous, ridiculous, ridicule, ridicule, grumble, grumble, intention, intention, intentional, intentional, intentionally, intentionally, intend, intend, intent, intent, unintentionally, unintentionally, reside, reside, resident, resident, residence, residence, residential, residential, cart, cart, hoop, hoop, encounter, encounter, tempt, tempt, temptation, temptation, broadcast, broadcast, razor, razor, dismay, dismay, incentive, incentive, carbon, carbon, hydrogen, hydrogen, oxygen, oxygen, grab, grab, crack, crack,
oak, oak, hue, hue,
Jew, Jew, Jewish, Jewish, freshman, freshman, swing, swing, spear, spear, frontier, frontier, read, read, toll, toll, sour, sour, skylark, skylark, simulate, simulate, simulation, simulation, indifferent, indifferent, indifference, indifference, indifferently, indifferently, similarly, similarly, similarity, similarity, simultaneous, simultaneous, simultaneously, simultaneously, spontaneous, spontaneous, spontaneously, spontaneously, source, source, resource, resource,
ridiculous in dress, ridiculous in dress. Think ridiculous, think ridiculous. Perfectly ridiculous, perfectly ridiculous. Incur ridicule, incur ridicule. Excite ridicule, excite ridicule. A butt of ridicule, a butt of ridicule. In ridicule of a person, in ridicule of a person. Draw ridicule, draw ridicule. Don't grumble, don't grumble. Grumble a reply, grumble a reply. Grumble at nothing, grumble at nothing. By intention, by intention. First intentions, first intentions. The intention of a clause, the intention of a clause. Hoard one's intention, hoard one's intention. Disclose one's real intention, disclose one's real intention. Intentional walk, intentional walk. An intentional insult, an intentional insult. An intentional omission, an intentional omission. Commit an intentional foul, commit an intentional foul. Intentionally or accidentally, intentionally or accidentally. Misunderstand intentionally, misunderstand intentionally. Intend to kill, intend to kill. Intend no disrespect, intend no disrespect. An intent gaze, an intent gaze. An intent look, an intent look. By intent, by intent. With suicidal intent, with suicidal intent. A letter of intent, a letter of intent. Offend unintentionally, offend unintentionally. Reside abroad, reside abroad. Reside in company housing, reside in company housing. Live in company housing, live in company housing. Summer residence, summer residence. Foreign residence, foreign residence. The resident population, the resident population. Resident students, resident students. Resident aliens, resident aliens. Resident program, resident program. A resident espionage agent, a resident espionage agent. A right resident in the nation, a right resident in the nation. Privileges resident in a class, privileges resident in a class. A residence permit, a residence permit. An official residence, an official residence. A quiet residential area, a quiet residential area. A residential district, a residential district. A residential street, a residential street. Non-residential, non-residential. A non-residential course, a non-residential course. A residential language course, a residential language course. A residential college, a residential college. A coal cart, a coal cart. Roll a hoop, roll a hoop. Hoop earrings, hoop earrings.
A chance encounter, a chance encounter. Close encounter, close encounter. Encounter group, encounter group. Encounter dangers, encounter dangers. Encounter a language barrier, encounter a language barrier. Have a three-party encounter, have a three-party encounter. A fateful encounter, a fateful encounter. Encounter the enemy, encounter the enemy. Tempt the appetite, tempt the appetite. Tempt one's fate, tempt one's fate. Tempt one's frailty, tempt one's frailty. Overcome temptation, overcome temptation. Flee from temptation, flee from temptation. Withstand temptation, withstand temptation. Feel temptation, feel temptation. Fall into temptation, fall into temptation. Yield to temptation, yield to temptation. A temptation of drink, a temptation of drink. Outside broadcast, outside broadcast. Broadcast live, broadcast live. Broadcast gossip, broadcast gossip. Today's broadcast program. Today's broadcast program. Broadcast discontent. Broadcast discontent. Cell broadcast. Cell broadcast. Scatter broadcast. Scatter broadcast. A public service broadcast. A public service broadcast. A national broadcast. A national broadcast. Razor blade. Razor blade. Razor edge. Razor edge. Razor sharp. Razor sharp. A disposable razor. A disposable razor. In dismay. In dismay. A jolt of dismay. A jolt of dismay. Feel dismay. Feel dismay. Express dismay. Express dismay. Incentive pay. Incentive pay. Wage incentive. Wage incentive. An incentive speech. An incentive speech. Incentive goods. Incentive goods. A tax incentive. A tax incentive. Give an incentive. Give an incentive. Offer an incentive. Offer an incentive. Have an incentive. Have an incentive. Take a carbon copy. Take a carbon copy.
Carbon emission. Carbon emission. Hydrogen bomb. Hydrogen bomb. Remove hydrogen. Remove hydrogen. Oxygen mask. Oxygen mask. A bubble of oxygen. A bubble of oxygen. Liquid oxygen. Liquid oxygen. Grab public lands. Grab public lands. A policy of grab. A policy of grab. Grab a purse. Grab a purse. To crack a nut. To crack a nut. To crack the enemy's code. To crack the enemy's code. A crack of thunder. A crack of thunder. Crack troops. Crack troops. A crack shot. A crack shot. Crack a pistol. Crack a pistol. Crack fingers. Crack fingers. A crack in a cup. A crack in a cup. A crack of a whip. A crack of a whip. A crown of oak. A crown of oak. Give a cue. Give a cue. Miss a cue. Miss a cue. An Orthodox Jew. An Orthodox Jew. A Jew boy. A Jew boy. The Jewish religion. The Jewish religion. The Jewish nation. The Jewish nation. College freshman. College freshman. The freshman class. The freshman class. Freshman composition. Freshman composition. Swing door. Swing door. Swing vote. Swing vote. Swing round a corner. Swing round a corner. Swing a full circle. Swing a full circle. A swing of 3 feet. A swing of 3 feet. Walk with a swing. Walk with a swing.
The swing of music. The swing of music. Swing the lead. Swing the lead. Go with a swing. Go with a swing. Swing into action. Swing into action. In full swing. In full swing. Fish spear. Fish spear. Spear of fish. Spear of fish. Throw a spear. Throw a spear. Throw a lance. Throw a lance. The frontier spirit. The frontier spirit. A frontier town. A frontier town. Frontier disputes. Frontier disputes. Frontier hardship. Frontier hardship. Over a passive frontier. Over a passive frontier. Reed beds. Reed beds. A broken reed. A broken reed. Motorway tolls. Motorway tolls. A toll road. A toll road. A sour flavor. A sour flavor. A sour face. A sour face. A sour temper. A sour temper. Simulant illness. Simulant illness. Simulant insanity. Simulant insanity. Simulant death. Simulant death. Self-simulation. Self-simulation. A simulation of sleep. A simulation of sleep. Pretend to be indifferent. Pretend to be indifferent. An indifferent meal. An indifferent meal. Indifferent to politics. Indifferent to politics. Indifferent acting. Indifferent acting. An indifferent judge. An indifferent judge. An indifferent attitude. An indifferent attitude.
Public indifference. Public indifference. An air of indifference. An air of indifference. Look on with indifference. Look on with indifference. Treat indifferently. Treat indifferently. A similar case. A similar case. Somewhat similar. Somewhat similar. Similar figures. Similar figures. Similarity in style. Similarity in style. Points of similarity. Points of similarity. Similarities and differences. Similarities and differences. A striking similarity. A striking similarity. Simultaneous events. Simultaneous events. Simultaneous broadcasting. Simultaneous broadcasting. Make simultaneous interpretation. Make simultaneous interpretation. A simultaneous interpreter. A simultaneous interpreter. Translate simultaneously. Translate simultaneously. Spontaneous combustion. Spontaneous combustion. A spontaneous cure. A spontaneous cure. A spontaneous thought. A spontaneous thought. A spontaneous movement. A spontaneous movement. Spontaneous remedies. Spontaneous remedies. A spontaneous outburst. A spontaneous outburst. A spontaneous reaction. A spontaneous reaction. Renewable energy sources. Renewable energy sources. Primary source. Primary source. A source of violence. A source of violence. The source of the Nile. The source of the Nile. A news source. A news source. Renewable resource. Renewable resource. A cultural resource. A cultural resource. A man of resources. A man of resources. Resources of money. Resources of money.